Good morning, everyone. Alec Purvis here, your candidate for Ward 2 here in Guelph, Ontario. I'm down at St. George's Square, and I've got the old Bank of Montreal behind me, and we can see the plaque there that basically that's from the Salvation Army as far as commemorating how long that day we've actually been established here in Guelph as well. One of the biggest things that we're seeing downtown in Guelph is the fact that we have this, lack of a better word, a competitiveness going on, or just disagreement, I guess, is probably a more honest word to say in it, between basically commerce and compassion, between social services and sales. So one of the things that I suggested, again, we have this huge bank behind us. This is the old Bank of Montreal. They end up moving out of here. What would happen if someone was able to come along and purchase this building? And what I could see happening, the back portion of this, I basically would knock down. Create a pathway between St. George's Square here and towards the library. That's one of the things I would do. As far as the front section, what I would end up doing is that I would make this into a memorial building. That in Guelph, Ontario, over the last 5 years, we've had over 125 deaths due to opioid poisonings. And those numbers are only going to go up. So someone needs to address the issue head on, and what I would do with this bank basically is that if City Hall doesn't want to be a warming center, let this be the warming center. At the same time, let this be a memorial, a designation to be able to show what drugs actually does as a memorial, and at the same time as an educational standpoint, the fact that how drugs have destroyed society, how they've destroyed lives, they've destroyed families and everything else. And when you look at a building, it has that feel to it, is that, yeah, that's something that could be done. Now the biggest thing is, and I've had several people from different businesses that I've met with, and they're saying, well, what would you do differently in the downtown core? Is first thing I would do is this building, get somebody to purchase it. You know, if I won the Lotto Max, I would buy it in a heartbeat, and that's the first things I would start doing. Knock down the back half, create a laneway going over towards the library, make this into a warming center since City Hall has no gumption that they want to be able to do that. And then this parking lot right here. Now, people are going to whine saying you're taking away parking. To me, this is a bigger priority. What I would end up doing is shut off this fire lane, if that's possible, and I think it probably is. And basically half of this parking lot I would extend. Royal City Mission, bring that fence out to basically right about here. Bring that fence out right about here. Put a stone wall down the side here, down the front, and then basically with the suggestion and encouragement of the staff from Royal City Mission, say, hey, when you have people that are coming down here that are looking for food, clothing, and counseling and everything else, afterwards, don't let them stay on the street here. On Quebec Street, encourage them to go into this brand new yard that's being established here. That they could have some private time. If they want to be in the shade under the trees, they can. If they can be in the sun and everything else, and allow that to be a place that they can, number one, call their own, but more importantly, it removes the issues that we're having on Quebec Street here. Now, a lot of the merchants are upset because they've been trying for years and years and years to be able to try to push the mission out. That's never going to happen. The mission was here long before many of these businesses were, but this is the compromise that I could see happening, is that if this building was to be purchased, make it into a warming center during the wintertime, that would solve that issue as far as the nights. And again, it's not a shelter, it's just a warming center. And then during the daytime, making it into some kind of a honorarium memorial as far as talking about the drug issues, the number of people that have died, families that have been destroyed, just how it's wreaked havoc on the entire city. And we need to do more, but the only way we can do that is keep it visible. You know, the city's priority right now seems to be the opposite. They want to keep everything hidden. If everything's hidden, it's never going to be addressed. It's never going to be solved. If we had it more in the forefront and more visible, more people are talking about it, and there's probably more of a willingness to actually do something about it. So that's what I would do. With Bank of Montreal here, I would make that into some kind of memorial / nighttime during the wintertime, making it into a warming center. And then with the parking lot here, I'd basically get rid of the parking lot, ask Royal City Mission if it would be permissible to be able to extend the fence line out to about here, put in a stone wall fence, 5-6 feet tall, all the way around, make it blend in with the building. And that way the people that are coming down here for social services, for meals, counseling, clothing, to get items that are being stored at the mission, shower, laundry, whatever, afterwards get them off of Quebec Street and put them in this side yard. To me, that would solve a lot of issues. It would help as far as the downtown merchants, as far as that they would be happier, that people are, there's not that aspect of the argument going back and forth and the battle presently as far as merchants versus social services. As far as the building here, is that it would keep everything at the forefront as far as the illegal drugs, the hard drugs, and the amount of havoc it's actually wreaked on the entire city. And then just as far as the back half of St. George's Square, is that people going from St. George's Square over to the library, is that there would be a proper pathway for them to be able to go that would be open, that they could go from the St. George's Square right over to the library. And even later on, when people are going to hockey games and everything else, if they don't want to park at Quebec Mall, they can park at the library and then walk through that path to be able to get over to Quebec Mall. So again, if I had the money or if I had the clout, that's basically what I would do. So again, businesses have asked, what would I do concerning this? That's one thing that I would do. This building right here is empty. I know the Bank of Montreal eventually is going to put it up for sale. Is that I would make, if your City Hall is going to continue to double down and say that it's not going to be a warming center, we need a warming center in the downtown core. To me, this would serve a triple purpose. Allow it to be a warming center during the wintertime, overnights. Secondly, make it a memorial as far as addressing the issues of opioid overdoses and deaths that have happened throughout the city. And third is that it would get people mobilized to actually want to do something about it. If it continues to be visually in front of people, people will continue to talk about it. When they're talking about it, that's when action happens. Otherwise, what happens in the past is that when people, the city wants to hide everything all the time, the encampments, this, that, and everything else. When things remain hidden, nothing gets solved. Again, my name is Alec Purves, and I'm running in Ward 2 here in Guelph, Ontario.